Hi guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you're all well. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some really important tips that you can take into consideration before you go to any interview. That's if you want to be successful at the interview. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jasmine. I'm a practicing social worker and I share my experiences here on the channel, both social work and non-social work related. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and show your support that way. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as well. Let's get right into the video. The first thing that I would like to mention is you need to make sure you know as much as you can about the organization that you're applying for work with. Generally, for me personally, when I'm applying for work, I tend to apply for multiple at the same time, especially if I don't have a job and I'm trying to get something as soon as I can. So it's very easy to, forget about which organization you may have applied for work with by the time they get back to you requesting for you to attend an interview. So once you have that interview, make it a point to go and do some research about the organization, find out who they are, who do they work with, what are their values, how does it align with your own values. And another way to show that you really care about the organization is to give examples of how you may have used their values in other scenarios in a previous job or in real life. And that way it's not like you're just reciting their values to them because you've read it on their website. Another thing that I would like to mention is make sure you ask questions at the interview. Generally at the end of the interview, they'll generally ask you, do you have any questions for us? Prepare some questions, ask about, what's their self-care like for staff? What's the caseload like? You can also ask what organizations do they usually work with? What barriers do they constantly experience? Those kind of things are things that show that you're really keen for the job that you're applying for. So it's definitely really important to have a few questions at the back of your head for when you're ready to go in. Another thing that I recommend is whilst you're going through their website and making points about different things, take notes, like take a notepad, write it down, put something in point form, and that way if you're catching the train or you're on public transport or you're getting driven to the interview or whatever, you can go through that as you sit in the car or on the train doing nothing. You can go through those points and that can help you prepare for the interview. Another thing that I would like to mention, I think it's the most important thing really, is the selection criteria. Most professional jobs have a selection criteria in the job advertisement. I will show you an example towards the end of this video of what a selection criteria looks like. So make sure you address the selection criteria. Usually the interview is structured around selection criteria. Whatever was asked in that selection criteria is most likely what you would be having a discussion about during the interview. And the good thing about answering that is even if you haven't had experience in those things, you can do some Google search, you can do some research before you go to that interview, because you kind of have a bit of an idea of what kind of questions that would be asked if you have an understanding around the selection criteria. And when answering the selection criteria, let's say if one of the points in the selection criteria applicants must have an understanding of what grief and loss is. When you go into the interview, don't just tell them what grief and loss is. Give an example of how you've worked with grief and loss in a previous role. What were the challenges? How did you manage it? How did you handle the situation? That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the definition for grief and loss. They're wanting to know that you really have a thorough understanding of it and you've worked with it before. And if it says, maybe, you as an applicant need to be able to multitask, give examples of how you can demonstrate that you have this skill as well, rather than say, yes, I can multitask. Like, say, okay, in my previous role, I was a manager, so I had to support my co-workers. I had to, attend meetings. I had to do this and that and that. And what did you do to show that you multitask? Did you prioritize? Did you organize your work? What are the things that you did there? That can really show, demonstrate your confidence, your communication skills, as well as confirm that you can actually do this particular task. So those are the things you need to take into consideration when you're addressing the selection criteria. If you're not already subscribed at this point, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, we're going to move into the next part of this video. Okay guys, so here are some things I would keep in mind if say I was applying for this job. So this job is a social worker role and it's with Legal Aid. It does give a bit of a background around who Legal Aid is, but the role itself is to provide case management to victims of domestic violence with complex social and legal needs, including referral assistance, risk assessment, safety planning, supporting attending court, as well as other services. It says provide clinical expertise to address the social legal needs of the victims, partner with other legal officers and domestic violence workers, liaise with external local providers of domestic and family violence services. Um, and it says, do you want to make a difference? Do you want to be part of a multidisciplinary team? So it's already said something about wanting to make a difference and stuff. So that's something that you can play into when you're putting your resume and cover letter and stuff like that together. So this is the selection criteria. The first one is, what experience or capabilities do you have in providing social work services to victims of domestic and family violence? And then it asks about what barriers to victims of domestic and family violence experience in disclosing violence and accessing legal services, and in what ways can social work services delivered through a multidisciplinary team assist in reducing those clients. So those two questions you need to answer and answer properly if you want to get a call back. Find out what domestic violence is. Find out what the issues are that people experience when they're trying to access support for domestic violence. Find out what the needs are for this client group. Like, all these things you can find on Google without necessarily even having to have done a domestic violence job, or having to have done like a job within that sector. So the next thing I'm going to do is go on the Aid website and find out who they are. I currently work in domestic violence, so I already know them. I already know what they do and stuff like that. But if you're a new applicant, go to About Us, go on the Who We Are page, find out who they are, who they talk to, who they support, what kind of things they do. And that way, when you go in, you can answer every single question they ask you because you've done your research. You know what I mean? And this will enhance your confidence as well when you go for the interview, because you know you've done your research. You know what it is, like you know what to say. You can answer every question if you do all these things. Anyways, I'm rambling. I think I'm going to end it here. Um Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you do. Leave a comment below and let me know one point that you found really helpful. And if there's something that you know that I did not share, make sure you leave it in the description, not description, leave it in the comment section below. I'm sure other people will find it helpful. That's it guys. If you guys have found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, share it with someone who might find it beneficial. And I shall see you in my next one. Take care guys. Bye bye.